Hello, everyone. This is AnimeKami with Usagiroll podcast, episode 7. It's been a while since the new year and our last podcast, but we're happy to be back and excited to be back with a trilogy of topics. First of which is the anime/manga price discrepancies between Japan versus the world. And today we have some fine gentlemen and one new gentleman here with us. And so we'll just kind of go around, give ourselves a quick introduction, and we'll get it started. Let's start with the Inaho guy.
Bonjour, I'm Baka119, and I am currently just a med student who enjoys anime and doesn't like getting ripped off on shit. So, are I allowed to be clean here, or do we have to censor?
There's no censoring.
Wait, you're asking this now? There is no censoring.
Clean and uncensored.
This is the NC-17 version, guys.
All right. Clearly, that's the new guy. Let's just go around. Let's go with Bio. Let's see. I wish you got a quick intro.
We're back. It's good to be back.
That was a boring intro expected from biopower.
Thank you.
Anyways, from Sean.
I think Tokyo Ravens is a terrible show, and no one should ever watch it.
God damn it!
And we just lost half our user base.
Yes. Sonic, go ahead.
Speed of sound, Sonic here.
How your nuts doing?
All right, let's go. So right, as I mentioned before, this podcast will be on anime manga price discrepancies between Japan versus the world. Let's just take it away, guys.
Okay. Well, first of all, one of the big things I'd say to start with is anime and manga in this outside of Japan too expensive? I'd say there's a lot of discrepancies in that, but like most people would probably consider any anime that they're buying like fresh or anything like that would be far too expensive. I mean, what do you guys think?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna set a standard for myself and myself only. Let's just make a hypothetical thing. Well, it's not really hypothetical. Each season of anime, you have summer, fall, winter, and spring. Excuse me, not fall, autumn. Sounds more sophisticated. And let's just pretend that there are 30 new anime airing each year, each season. For me to like 30 anime and to buy each DVD Blu-ray set for that anime, that is expensive. However, within a year there might be one or two anime that I super like, and that is what I'm going to focus my money and resources on. Mm-hmm. And so in a sense, I do not think it's too expensive because I'm only buying one DVD Blu-ray set for one anime per year. So that's where I'm coming from. And so my answer to you would be no, it's not too expensive.
Interesting there, AK, because in Japan, the typical anime watcher or otaku that's going to actually buy the shows usually only focuses on one or two annually as well. So they're not gonna drop down serious coin on every single show from every single season. They're going to be very selective and pick out something that really stands out to them. So that's also why the producers of the show need to be extra careful that they craft something that people want to buy and not something that's going to flop, because then they're not going to get a good return on their investment.
Right, absolutely. And I think with that mindset, if you only buy one or two anime sets a year, it goes to wonder who buys the other anime that does not sit well with them.
Well, I mean, I think by its very nature, anime is sort of the pricing point, at least because we're at sort of such a high price. Anime is very much distinguished. The pricing is set by a very small population of anime consumers per se. So like as long as there's appropriate segmentation. So you can imagine, for example, if you drop the price of, let's say, like a Blu-ray disc hypothetically, let's say it was originally say like 70 USD and we drop it down to 60 USD. In that case, I don't think as many more people would buy it, just because anime is already such a mainly like a fringe hobby, right? So that means that they might as well max it out, because the maximum of that fringe population, they're willing to pay a ton for that one or two sets, and that's why they're able to maximize their profits that way. And if they drop it, then they're not able to increase any demand at all. So then they actually end up making less money. So they just push it all the way to the maximum.
That's actually a really great point there, Baka. In Japan, actually, they tried that exact same thing back in, I believe, the early 90s. It was like, I want to say 70-ish dollars, equivalent to like 7,000 yen. And what they did is they dropped it down to maybe 5,000 to 4,000 on the low end. And they found that sales didn't really pick up to make up for the profit margin that they were getting with the higher level at like 7,000 yen. So they figured they'll just keep the prices higher because they're going to recoup more of their money that way than lowering it, because they're not getting more buyers at the lower price.
Mm-hmm.
And another interesting thing with that is the prices. The reason why they even started out so high to begin with was because video rental shops in Japan, and those video rental shops in Japan would pay, the 7,000 yen to get the title, and then they would rent it out, so many times, and then over time they would recoup whatever they put into that particular title. So as video rental shops started to decline in favor of home video purchases and then later streaming, the anime producers noticed that the fans of the shows, instead of renting the titles, were actually going and buying them at the exact same price that the video rental shops were buying them at. And that's how we kind of arrived at the market we have today in Japan.
Yeah. So then I suppose let's go with this, comparing the two then. Prices, people would think a lot of things like, if we get into something like Aniplex owned shows, they're too expensive, and lots of people always consider it like price gouging because they grab a lot of the highest demand stuff. But there's actually we're actually getting the better deal, it seems like, as opposed to Japan, where they don't even release everything at once. They release it like every 2 episodes is a volume.
And that's at 7,000 yen, or roughly $70 US. So it's,
I think by today's exchange rate, it's
today's
closer
exchange
to
rate.
100. It's closer to 100.
Yeah. So you're paying essentially the same price for 2 episodes that, I don't know, Aniplex likes to do less than normal, but still you get, like, for instance, Madoka they did 2 episodes for everyone in Japan, and then here Aniplex of America released it, and they had 4 episodes.
4 times 3.
Yeah, they had 4 episodes, so then you only had to buy 3 of them.
And how much was it each each volume? 100.
I actually have that. Let's see. The Japan one would be the equivalent of $90 US, but they also include stuff like drama CDs and soundtrack stuff. And the North American release was about $50 for 4 episodes per disc.
Well, to be honest, if the conclusion I can come with that, $50 versus the $90, the price discrepancy there is Japan already met its quota to fill back their wallets. And once they filled back their wallets, you don't have to keep it so high. Any extra money can be used and gained for the company for future production. That's the reason why I see they're lowering it from 90 to 50. Well, the difference between $90 and $50, because you have to also think about, in the U.S. release, you have to subtitle it You have to maybe translate it for some certain companies.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe not Aniplex, but
Hmm.
and this is extra work, and you also have extra licensing fees, both the music, the opening and endings, and the anime itself. So all these fees, tack onto the price, but for it to be $40 less, almost 50%.
Actually, it's even more than that if you consider 2 episodes at 90. So that if you
Right.
it'll be
Basically,
180 to 50 roughly in the same amount of episodes.
So, in that sense, I the only conclusion I can come up with is they're just padding their wallets more so than they need if it's successful already.
I'm actually
Yeah.
kind of curious.
So-
I couldn't find this breakdown at least for Japan, but for the Western shows, for example, the vast majority of funding for Western TV shows usually comes from advertising, not from like usually merchandise sale or Blu-ray or DVD sales. Usually, most of it comes from the advertising from the original TV run. Does anyone have any data for where most income comes from for anime specifically, or maybe manga? Yeah.
Advertising?
Actually, I do.
Huh.
Well, take it away, Sonic, Resident Super Speed.
So, with the Japanese anime releases, they typically are late night TV series, and they're not really looking for advertising. Instead, what they have is they have a group of investors form a production committee, so they'll go to like, I don't know, whatever their major corporation there that wants a return on an investment for a share in this anime, plus maybe a TV studio and then the animation studio, obviously. So then, once they pull all their resources together, then now with the investors, they can actually make the show. So then when they make the show, their goal is to then sell so many Blu-ray copies and DVD copies to recoup what they put in, plus the profit. So hypothetically, let's say there's a 13-episode series that a company's making, and say they spent $150,000 US per episode. That would put them close to $2 million to recoup it all. So they would only need to sell maybe just under 8,000 units to recoup that at like a $90 price
So
US.
I guess there are probably enough otaku that they could make that back. Plus the merchandise, right? I imagine, for example, like hug pillows.
So yeah, and that doesn't even include the merchandise. That's just the discs themselves. So a typical show like that, what they're trying to do is first get the investors involved, form the production committee, and then once they have the investment capital, they can make the show, and then they're really hoping on whatever the fan is out there that wants to buy the merchandise for the show. So everything hinges on how well the show is received to the fan, and not like on an advertiser on like a TV show in America.
I think this is sort of like a trivial point, but it's also important to emphasize that this is for late night anime, not necessarily for like the big three or like for family TV ones that get huge viewership.
Yeah, there's
okay.
other kinds that do have some ad revenue and follow a different format than this. But the vast majority though are the late night that get released each season.
Do you know?
Actually, excuse me, but from my personal experience, being in Japan and watching the commercials there, I didn't notice any of the anime that were airing at the time. And by chance, I caught Chunibyo and Strike the Blood episodes at 1 a.m. local Japanese time, Standard Time. And that was it. That was my experience with that market there. But when I was, having my lunch in my hotel room and I was, flipping through the channels, what I primarily noticed was the children anime. Like, by children anime, I meant, like, the Card Fight, the Vanguard, all the Precure stuff. and just the anime aimed towards children, and so I don't think children buy anime discs. They really don't.
No.
But they certainly would buy a toy, maybe Card Fight Vanguard cards or Precure dolls,
Yeah.
if they have them. And that supplements the prices for anime in Japan. But Precure or maybe Card Fight the Vanguard, they don't really come to the U.S. in
No.
such a manner.
No.
But you do see
No.
some Card Fight the Vanguard cards in local hobby stores, but not to the extent where it's like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon.
Yeah.
Just the more famous or bigger titles.
In Taiwan, oh sorry,
So in
I was gonna say
No,
in
go
Taiwan,
ahead.
I actually in their supermarket, like the equivalent of a supermarket, I actually saw like a lot of card fight merchandise, like a lot of backpacks, a lot of pencil cases and whatnot. It's surprisingly very popular in that like area of Asia as well. So there's, I guess there's not necessarily like international, but then the local Asian market as well tends to be a lot more accepting. And those backpacks are like actually usually just priced around the same price as regular backpacks.
Well, as far as card fight goes, it is very popular over there because all the English dubbing is done, I think, in either Taiwan or Thailand. So that's why it's popular over there in the first place.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Oh.
Wait, who was that person that just spoke? I didn't notice.
The person who spoke just now or the person who spoke before?
The person who spoke before Inaho.
That would be me.
Oh, hello you. Who is this?
I don't even know anymore. Sometimes I'm a zombie, sometimes I'm a person, sometimes I'm a spirit that walks across the near shore.
Are you just gonna walk
Trace
away now?
occupied me.
I will not walk away right now.
Okay. So in the theme of this topic, gentlemen, let's step it up one notch.
Sure.
Right. Since price discrepancies is between the Blu-rays and the DVD sales, manga sales included.
Yeah.
Stepping to the digital age now, we have so many streaming services, tons and tons of streaming services. Do you think there would be a price discrepancy if there was a streaming service in Japan that kind of combines all the anime into one site? Would you think it's more expensive in Japan or less expensive in Japan to stream anime?
Don't they already have the Nico service?
I would think it'd be about the same. Yeah, they have the Nico already. Doesn't have everything, but it does cover a decent amount.
A decent amount.
They just got Netflix too.
So the Nico.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a game changer as well.
Right. So would you say that like the one or two fans of anime that buys that one set of anime that year, would he or she be invested to buy more anime? Because the mindset is, they're only attached to the one anime, right? The one or two anime that aired. If anime were cheaper, would he or she be more vested in multiple anime and spend more money?
Well, if you were to base it on the previous experiment they did, no, but I could see them trying again now that it's been like 20 years or so. And there might be a difference, but I mean, that's something they won't know unless they take the risk to delve into that and see what the market's like, if it's changed or if it's stayed pretty much the same in terms of the person who buys versus the person who just wants to watch on TV or
See,
streaming.
the difference from now
Yeah.
and back then is that now we have so much more anime to choose from than we did like 20 years ago. So, I mean, if one person likes a particular anime, I mean, there's at least 5 out there that may be the same, that may catch their interest, that they may want to buy. And if the prices go down for like the Blu-rays and DVD sets, maybe they'll be inclined to like buy more since they have the money now to, further their horizons on series they can purchase.
I mean, the Japanese economy has also been like tanking for the past couple decades. and then just now it's beginning to hit sort of instability in terms of like it has days where it goes highly up, and then there's days where it goes highly down. So in terms of the amount of like watchable income that a lot of like disposable income that a lot of Japanese have is something that is not necessarily going to be stable. Because I mean, I guess I don't know. Most people who buy anime, usually the otaku are people. I have no idea actually. Are they usually working people who have a stable income? Do they use parents' money or? Yeah.
Well, according to Itami from Gates, he works in the military so he can fund his otaku life.
So it's all special forces soldiers, right?
Seems pretty legit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely special.
They have the strongest, the strongest.
Or they have
force.
a really, really cheap part-time job and they
Yeah.
just don't eat for a month.
They could be a devil.
Okay, let's talk about some manga for a sec.
Yeah.
I believe one individual in here mentioned that, well, didn't mention it, but I'm going to mention it now. Pre and post production, it's a seriously fun thing. My audience and members mentioned that manga in Japan is cheaper than the United States. Now, for various reasons, it's very intuitive, right? I mean, you have to print it over here, you got to translate it, you got to, I guess, change the language to sell in the United States. In Japan, you just natively print it. But I want to make it emphasize that I think the printing services for manga and I think the Japanese printing services for manga specifically is a much more established, well, of course it's much more established occupation than it is in the United States. So in that respect alone, that is a primary reason why it's cheaper in Japan versus America. However, someone in here can enlighten all of us.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Well, basically, the manga volumes you'll see in Japan are going to be somewhere around probably 3 times cheaper than what you're going to find typically as far as the retail cost on a shelf in like the US. So if if something's like $15 in the US, it's going to be around $5 or so in Japan.
Wow, that's pretty cheap compared to us.
And
Yeah.
I think the reason for that is like AK already brought up, they have to license the content, so that's an upfront cost.
Yep.
And then they have to translate the content, that's another cost. And then they have to obviously print it and distribute it and work with distributors and get it to retailers and everything. So the infrastructure isn't as already developed and in place as it is in Japan over here. And since it's not a title that's being made by somebody who already owns the license, that upfront cost is really probably eating into potential that they could be getting like in Japan. So
Yeah, and another big thing about it is volume. I mean, Japan obviously is going to have the bigger market for manga, whereas here in the U.S. it's more of a niche market, although it is growing. But I mean, you're not going to reach your numbers as easily, so you need to have the price be a little higher. Plus, you're paying for all those royalties and other licensing fees stuff that you mentioned.
One thing I want to mention real fast is just the price of manga, right? You buy one volume of manga is 500 yen. It's around $5, give or take, maybe a little bit less. But as a consumer, as a fan of anime and manga, $5 is a lot. I emphasize a lot cheaper than one volume of a Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
oh, absolutely.
Just that right there, I can collect just under 20 times the amount of content through manga than I can with anime. And so, if I just think about it as a consumer, why wouldn't I want to buy manga instead of anime? I can build my collection. I can put it up on my shelf. It looks nice, versus maybe that one box set that's sitting on the shelf that looks really lonely and it's just bearing. But if my shelf is full of manga, it looks colorful. It's decorative. It says something about me, right?
I mean, that's like saying, would you rather fill up your book with like Marvel Comics or like Agents of Shield box set, right? I think I wouldn't say it's completely orthogonal interests, but then I would definitely say that like it's dependent on your own priorities as to which medium you enjoy more.
Yeah.
And in Japan, I know for sure that manga does a lot more sales and is a lot more popular overall than like a typical anime will be.
Oh, there were tons of manga, tons and tons of manga. You could get crushed by those books. It's insane.
I mean, yeah. If you
actually,
I was gonna say, if you take into consideration the fact that they have a 12-hour workday, so they pretty much go to work, eat, sleep, then it's a lot easier to consume manga while you're riding on the subway in between like your lunch break or whatever, than it is to like sit down and dedicate time to watching an anime, especially like given the weird given the weird airing times.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So price differences. So with price differences between anime and manga, well, it's very apparent that the Japanese, and it doesn't even have to be Japanese, a connoisseur of anime/manga loves both mediums equally most of the time, because you can't run into anime without getting to know the manga. Because I've had times where I've seen the beginning of a series and I just kind of, this is really interesting, let me go read the manga. Or I've read the manga and now it's getting an anime. Oh, I'm super excited about it. So with this, what can we deduce from the price differences? Like, do you think if the manga sales were high enough, then the anime in the future maybe can bump down its production, its sale price?
I wonder if actually, so a lot of times there's also the opposite interaction where, for example, an anime production will oftentimes boost manga sales. So I wonder if there's maybe a factor where a manga company might be incentivized to subsidize the cost of an anime and then use that anime in order to push for the sales of the manga, and they can recoup the money that way, so that way both can reduce their prices.
Well, that's what anime shorts are for, in the terms of boosting sales. You just kind of get a 3-minute, 7-minute series to show its viewers that, oh, hey, this manga exists. But carrying on to that, if an anime is only 3 to 7 minutes long, even though it gets 12 episodes, I don't think it's worth any company's time, or even overseas, to license such an anime to sell.
And 3 minutes is nothing. Yeah.
There's no.
But then for like a full length.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing. I mean, here's the most outrageous thing you can ever say. Would you pay $90 for 2 episodes of 3 minutes?
I would definitely not.
No way.
No.
Like, it could be like the most amazing anime segment ever. Let's take the Fate. Is it Fate Zero? Yeah, Fate Zero segment where Saber, Gilgamesh, and Ryder are sitting down having a drink. I think that's the whole segment. There is around 5 minutes. Would you pay $90 for that?
If it's unlimited boner
I don't
lengths,
think
that would be the most glorious scene. 5 minutes of animation.
I may consider it for like 10 seconds and say, nah, it's not worth it.
You'd look at it.
I mean,
you'd look at it online, and then you'd be like, No.
You know what I'd say? I'd say, AK,
I mean, they could.
show it to me online, because you are the king of the
Well,
dark side.
interesting thing though, actually.
What was that, Sonic? Something
Interesting though, actually, is Sentai Filmworks has started licensing some of the short anime.
Oh, really?
And they have released already comic artist and his assistants, and I know they picked up a few other short titles this season and last season, so they must see some
I mean, to be
opportunity in
fair,
this market
comic
to sell those.
comic artist and his assistants is like 12 minutes plus OVAs. It's not that bad.
Well, here's
Still,
the thing.
still half the time though of a typical series.
It's still probably cheaper than a regular series too, for them to make.
Yeah,
So
like the amount of
do you know?
effort that goes into translating and stuff would probably be
Yeah.
cost them less overall.
Do you know offhand what the sales comparison would be between a short and a regular length show? Generally,
I have no idea because there's really not too much data on that.
Kinda just
'cause shorts
started, yeah.
are relatively new things.
Mhm.
So one thing I like to add about Blu-ray box sets,
Mhm.
they add commentary, they add maybe like a poster or some sort of DVD extra, Blu-ray extra to it. This also adds to the cost, but it can also add to the selling cost.
The
So
value.
they bring in more revenue.
Yeah.
Now, if I tie this back into the question I posed earlier, would you ever buy a 1-volume, 2-episode anime Blu-ray box for $90? Is like probably not. But if they add in these incentives, these the commentaries and these extra features, maybe I would consider it. Like if the short came with a figurine I liked a lot, I might consider it.
Or
Came
And
with a figure or maybe an art box,
of
soundtrack.
course,
and an art book, a soundtrack,
Mhm.
a poster, a
I think at that
lithograph,
point we're not buying it
stuff
for
like
the
that.
anime anymore.
Well, of course, you're not buying it for the anime per se, but would all this benefits or these extras be worth it if it comes overseas to the United States
Yeah.
audience? Would there be an added cost? Because these, let's see, if I make an example, I think Sword Art Online has some sort of DVD, Blu-ray extras inside its box.
Yes.
And so those prices are already factored into the sales. But if SAO was a 2-minute short and it came with an Asuna figure, everyone here likes Asuna, I think. At least some sort of measure. She's a good waifu.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might buy it. Like, I'd buy it for the Asuna figure and get the DVD extras and probably not watch it, though. That's a sad thing. That's a sad thing.
You know, this reminds me of High School of the Dead when they licensed it here, and the like whole collection didn't have like that one OVA that was like 15 minutes, and then they released it separately, just that one OVA for like $20, and
yeah.
many people were like, "Oh, that's not worth $20, 15 minutes." Even though it had a lot of fan service.
I disagree. I think it's worth it.
Really, okay, can you please enlighten us?
It's only
Worth
it's only like $5 on sale.
No, yeah, they do that with a couple things. A lot of the OVAs just get released separately for things, but it's like
There's a reason to that actually, and the reason is because typically anything that's not the actual series itself has more strings attached to it behind the scenes as far as the licensing goes. So they have to get approvals. So sometimes an extra might be not directly with the production committee, so they might have to get an approval from like say the manga creator or the manga service, or maybe somebody who does the voice acting, or someone who has license to music in the series or something like that.
yeah.
So
That
a lot of times those extra features, like an OVA or any other shorts or specials that might come with a series, has to be licensed separately, and that can drastically increase the cost for a company licensing it overseas.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why a lot of subscription services don't have a lot of OVAs in general.
It's
Yeah, they would.
just the
They
extra
would have to
cost.
pick it up the same
That
way
makes
the other ones
no
do.
sense. I think is it
Right.
one of the assumptions is that we're making implicitly is that the prices of an anime scales linearly with respect to the cost of making it, which is like not necessarily true in most economic systems. For example, you have that guy like Martin Shkreli. The pill costs only like a few cents to make, but then the guy charges like $6,000 a pop, right? So in this case,
Well, I think there's a cap to it. to
yeah, I
be
think there's a
honest.
cap but that cap is usually fueled by the demand rather than the. So usually the price point is set by the demand rather than the actual cost itself.
Ah.
Because I mean, there is a smaller population of Americans who are willing to buy Blu-ray discs, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
This is somewhat not within the price discrepancies. Well, there
That's
is
fine.
price differences.
That's fine.
But I believe the 2009 anime, Eden
Great
Eden
anime.
of the East. I believe the yes, thank you. Got its Blu-ray release, and after the first episode, the opening was not seen in the rest of the series. Is this
It is
correct?
correct,
Someone-
and it's a damn shame.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
great opening.
Right.
What a shame.
And that was due to a licensing
Right. These are
issue they had.
issues.
Licensing issue they had with Oasis that provides the song.
Mhm.
Damn
And
Oasis.
I guess Oasis was requesting more money than was reasonable for them to actually include the song
Right.
in every episode on the set. So they came to some agreement where they could have it on the first episode for a reasonable amount, but they couldn't have it on any of the other episodes, which is hilarious and stupid,
Oasis,
but that's how
the
these
thing.
things go down.
These are some of the price differences. I don't know if the Japanese version had the whole thing. I'm sure it didn't. But, I would like the audience to just understand that companies have a certain quota, certain mark they have to hit, and if it's too unreasonable for the consumers, us, to spend that much money, we just won't buy it, and they're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them to make that capital decision of, let's just have it for one episode, and to sell the Blu-ray disc, I think that was a smart decision by the companies and the licensing companies here in the United States to just try to get that.
Yeah, I agree.
better than nothing.
Yeah.
Better than nothing indeed.
Also, if I may, I would like to briefly talk about some of the percentage cost breakdown in Japan versus in the U.S. as far as typical DVD sale.
Mhm.
Sure.
So in Japan, it breaks down to roughly 25% share for a retailer, plus 15% for their additional discount, 5% for the fulfillment cost, and then that leaves them with a net revenue of 55% of each DVD sale. But then in the U.S., it's a whopping 65% retailer share, including discounts. 5% fulfillment costs. Then you have about 1% typically going to a music royalty, with only 29% net revenue. So the U.S., they're only making 29% net revenue on the same series in Japan that they're going to get 55% net revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So a lot of the money in the sale in the U.S. gets eaten up by the retailer with that huge 65%. So that's one of the reasons that some Japanese licensors are reticent to even license something, is because they want to maximize the return on the investment, and if they think the series isn't going to do that well overseas,
Yeah.
they may not see that as bringing in that much more revenue for them to actually be worth it.
Mhm. And that kind of brings me to another topic. There are some shows and movies that actually were they were created mostly because of the popularity with Western audiences. I believe, was it I can't. I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's some movies.
Big O was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
The second season of that was co-funded and co-produced by Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, with the Japanese production committee over there. In fact, it wasn't even going to happen until they said, "Hey, this show is doing pretty well. We'd like to chip in, become a part of the production committee for season 2, if you guys are willing to make a season 2." And it happened.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen too often, actually, but Dimension W this season is another one of those with Funimation chipping in.
And we'll get to that one, I think, in our third discussion a little more. But another show, just not necessarily funded by Western companies, but because of the popularity with Western audiences in general. I heard that the Trigun movie actually was created just in general because of Trigun's Western popularity versus Japan's.
Well, I think both economies influence each other tremendously. Where that takes us, that remains a mystery currently. Maybe we'll know in the future, maybe we won't know. And I think this discussion is still very young at its core.
Yeah.
Because, anime is still just reaching the Western audience. Like, it's still fairly new.
It's pretty niche right now. Still.
But it is. However, I think we're running a little bit out of time. However, pre-production, ladies and gentlemen, we had this horrible discussion about bashing some certain company about setting their prices too high. I'm just going to give 1 minute to whoever wants to just scream on the top of their lungs and just, "Oh my gosh, they suck! It's so much."
So you guys know I love Your Lie in April, but Aniplex of America got the license, so now I will never own it. I hate you, Aniplex of America.
07. Press F.
I believe someone uttered the words "fuck PonyCanyon."
Yeah, there's a couple reasons behind that one.
Now, the thing with PonyCanyon is, so in Aniplex of America's case, I can see why they do it, and the reason why they do it is because the shows they get,
they're big.
They get from, they're big. Yeah, they're a big title, and they get it from their, essentially their parent company. Although they still have to pay for it, they get the right of first refusal, and they get to bid on it first, but they still got to pay for it. And so what they do is they choose a series that's going to be big. So they see an SAO, they see a Bakemonogatari, they see Your Lie in April, and then they're like, okay, we're going to license this because we know it's going to sell. And because they know it's going to sell, they're like, all right, we're going to charge, as part of the agreement, we will charge them like half of what the cost is in Japan, which is still a substantial amount relative to what the typical Funimation or Sentai or NISA or Discotheque or what have you is going to charge in the U.S. market.
But PonyCanyon.
But with PonyCanyon, the shows that they've picked up so far have not really been those AAA titles that people are like dying to have. So like they have Denki Guy, the Super High Defense Club Love, Roka.
Oh God, Roka.
And here's the thing with Roka. Here's the thing with Roka. The sales for it in Japan bombed. It absolutely tanked. And they picked up Roka because they saw the streaming numbers on Crunchyroll and similar services, and they says, the Western audience is actually having a lot of fun watching this show. It seems like there might be a market here for it. So what they did is they went to Aniplex Japan, said, hey, if you give us the show, we'll get the releases out quickly, and we can help you recoup some of your losses on the Japanese Japanese release, so you don't completely flatline on the show. And that's seriously like what they're doing with that show.
Oh, they're price gouging though.
No,
So
guys, you
basically,
have to think
they're
about
trying
this.
to save like their pretty much parent companies in Japan from flopping on some of these shows that aren't as great, whereas Aniplex is only picking up shows that are going to actually sell. So I can't really see PonyCanyon lasting a long time in the market
Yeah.
with what they're currently doing
Yeah.
because I just can't see the sales being there for these titles that aren't
Yeah.
Alright,
Do you
amazing.
think
demanding that.
if Aniplex had grabbed these instead of letting PonyCanyon have them, that they would sell better, or
Maybe Roka, not the other.
Well, I think any
I don't. It would be slightly cheaper, but I don't think the sales would be
Mhm.
that much better because it would have to be a company like Sentai or Funimation that's charging substantially less for the sales to start to equal out.
my impression is that Aniplex
Yeah.
has a better like marketing and distribution like infrastructure though.
Yeah, they already have stuff in place, whereas PonyCanyon,
just finding their feet?
like almost 100% of it is being done by Right Stuff.
I imagine the other companies
Right
probably
stuff.
like
So
wouldn't
it-
want to like spend too hard to get like a license like that though, because they could also lose a lot of money on that license. So
Yeah, and the trouble though is anything that is Aniplex related or anything that is PonyCanyon related in Japan gets the right of first refusal now for those companies in America. So they get to decide: are we going to release this, or are we going to let somebody else bid on it and reject it? Because they get the first right to bid.
Okay.
So, what you got to hope for when one of your favorite shows from one of those companies in Japan comes up is that they reject the first bid and let somebody else bid on it, because
We all kind of
if they don't, you will end up paying whatever the price is going to be, and it's going to be a lot relative to the other releases.
Just
in the
one in
US.
phase zero.
To the dark side.
to the dark side. Yes.
All right. We're almost out of time, so we're just gonna get some final words into by all our lovely gentlemen here. But before that, so episode 7 was about anime manga price discrepancies between world and Japan. We touched bases on the price of one country versus another. If it's the difference is oh man, I just completely lost it. You know what? This is B-roll.
fuck it.
This is B-roll. We're gonna cut it to whoever is gonna go first. Let's go with the new guy.
New guy or like Baka?
I think he's young Blackjack.
Baka.
Oh god damn it.
Inaho.
Well, I think even though with all this discussion of high prices, I think it's part of the reason that we have such high prices is because there's such insufficient demand, so that it's only very much a fringe population of consumers who are purchasing it. So please don't rely too heavily on the dark side and support the industry, and hopefully maybe that'll bring down prices by economics.
Mm-hmm. See, ladies and gentlemen, I staged that whole thing. See how well you covered for me? I staged that. I am so good. All right, Bio, that's your turn. Let's go. Any last words?
Fuck PonyCanyon USA, we'll say. Because I didn't get to fit that in there earlier, but there's another reason for that. But as everyone knows, with our openings video. But I gotta say, I actually was pretty astounded to see how different the sales are between U.S. and Japan, and how they go about merchandising everything. And I guess Aniplex doesn't look as bad as they once did to me. But yeah, I suppose that's where I can leave off. So I got some good stuff out of this.
I guess I'll talk a little bit more on
What? No.
PonyCanyon there.
No, how dare you? It is not your turn. I say who it's turn.
Damn you, PonyCanyon.
Okay, sorry, you can go. I'm sorry, you can go.
I just wanted to add, along with the Roku releases, so they were gonna. So a typical PonyCanyon release so far consists of, I think it's 4 episodes per release at $72 US. So a single core show is $72 times times 3 for all of them. So you're looking at like $216 to own a whole own just one core of one show from them. And on top of that, their first 2, I believe, were Denki Guy and Yuki Yuna as a hero. And with Denki Guy, they didn't include a dub, but with Yuki Yuna, they did. They charged the exact same price for both sets, and they were nigh identical. And one has the dub and one doesn't. Now, if that isn't a giant middle finger to the people buying your releases, I don't know what is.
Okay, we have the perfect graphic for this cast.
And just one more thing with Roka, they did have a regular edition solicited. It was the first time they had a regular edition solicited, but they canceled it. They canceled it a couple weeks after the solicitation, and the retailers that were stocking it, Right Stuff and Roberts, they actually said we had more inventory in pre-orders for the regular edition than the limited edition before they canceled it. So I'm really struggling to see what PonyCanyon is doing in this market.
Big middle finger to those people who bought the collector's edition too. Jeez.
And as much as Aniplex does charge an arm and a leg, they at least they focus on those high priority titles that do have value, and they do try and bring you some extras and stuff that are gonna at least justify the price somewhat for the average collector.
They're usually pretty high quality stuff.
Yeah, to be fair, they are really great box sets that I wouldn't mind owning. I just don't want to spend the money for them.
But the Rebellion box set was so worth it.
All right, Sean. You're making the graphics for this episode, right? Thanks.
I should have walked away earlier.
You should have walked away.
Run, fly, you fool!
It's too late. Well, since AK put this on me, I'm just gonna forcefully take my turn now. I just want to say.
Yes, you will.
As Western anime fans, particularly in the United States, we are extremely lucky when it comes to buying anime DVDs and Blu-rays, because they're so much cheaper than mostly every part of the world. Like, thinking about it, like, I can buy Noragami right now, a series that I love, for like $35 off Amazon or Right Stuff. And if I wanted to buy it in Japan, it cost me like $200. I mean, at least. So even though I complain sometimes about stuff like Aniplex, I'm actually really thankful that we get such good prices on our anime here. And one last thing, Tokyo Ravens is actually not that bad a show, I guess.
And we got the viewer base back. Thank you.
Glad they could come back at the end here.
We're just out. We're gonna go out. Cut? Nope. All right. So, with me, I've never actually bought much anime DVD and Blu-rays. Actually, I haven't bought a single one, but it's simply because for me, I like to spend my money on figurines I can look at every day when I just look up on my shelf. Because for me, I don't really rewatch anime that much, and the price for me is just not there. But with that said, everyone has their own different opinions on buying DVDs, when to buy DVDs, where to buy DVDs. I mean, I could buy a plane ticket to Japan and buy Noragami. That'd be very expensive.
It doesn't make sense.
I think. Hey, I'm not the one who's won the lottery, so. Anyways, I'm rambling. But, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 7 of the Usagiroll podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Usagiroll Podcast, SoundCloud, Usagiroll, and Twitter at Usagiroll Pod. And stay tuned for the next segment, which I will not spoil yet. Actually, let me redo that. Stay tuned next time for Usagiroll Podcast.
Hey,
that
can
was
I ask you something?
Let's just cut it.
Are you sure?
No.
So last time
just
we were
did.
talking about discrepancies in the price of Japanese and American condoms. Do you want to shed some more light on that for us?
Whoa, is there actually a price discrepancy?
This can be edited out, so I don't care. I mean, I
won't
don't know if
be.
there's a price discrepancy. I don't know if there's a price discrepancy between the condom prices, but I know there's a discrepancy between condom sizes.
Oh yeah, okay, that's anatomy, but
Well, this is I think we should just
No,
cut now.
I don't know, but that was my answer.
I'm
You
a little
know,
disappointed.
we can just cut now. We're gonna cut this off.
fuck. Okay,
Where's Leo with Brave
Watch
Shine
our
when you need him?
2015 OP video. Yeah, watch our Brave Shine rendition from Leo.
We may put it in iTunes for $1, so buy it. We need money.
Oh, by the way,
Sorry, $3 in
Leo's not
Japan.
getting any royalties. This is completely just ours for the taking, even though he did all the work.
Hey, we bribed.
Please,
We got him into her.
we need your money. Give it to us.
Man. Should we have stop recording or what? Because I'm still going.
Nah,
Oh, no,
just keep going.
Crap! I haven't hit stop yet. So.
No.
Damn.
All right.
No, I haven't hit, so I'm still
So,
recording.
while we're still talking about nonsense, AK told us the way to pick up Japanese girls is to be aggressive. Just remember that, fellas.
Yes.
Wait, define
yes,
aggressive.
That's true. From what the internet says. Oh, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go up to two ladies, and you're just gonna do this. Hey, ladies, I'm a foreigner. Wrap your hand around them and just take off.
That was my move.
Oh.
Just gotta take off.
What if they have no idea what you're saying?
They don't need to
They don't
know
care.
what.
you see,
I'm
it sucks
saying.
because if you're Asian, then you're like, oh, okay, never mind, can't pull that off, right?
Body language.
I know.
Body
It
language
does
says
suck
it all.
when you're Asian. You can't say you're a foreigner. But so hard.
We got
so
this.
Hard.
We
See,
got
this
this,
is-
Sean. Sean,
This
son.
is why you tag along with the Asian. You go up and say, "Hi, have you met my Asian? Not Asian. Have you met my foreigner friend here? He's from America."
AK, you would make a great wingman.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, I would know I'm a great wingman. Who's gonna be my wingman then?
We sympathize.
It's because you don't need one, man. Okay, it's because you don't need one. So
It's true.
It'd have been nice if you guys offered. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording now because no one offered.
I'll be your wingman, AK.
You guys suck.
I'll be your
I'll do
wingman
it.
any
I'll do it,
day,
okay.
AK.
Suck.
Guys, he wants to pick up chicks, not lose them.
All right.
Oh,
Oh!
Harsh.
Oh! You did a burn heel with that?
It's okay. It's okay. I'll just show them a copy of Tokyo Ravens.
Again, you want to pick up chicks, not scare them away.
Got him.
No. See, Bio is gonna go up there with a box set of Tokyo Ravens, and then Sean's gonna put on a sticky note.
Free. No, not even. Like, I will give you 10,000 yen to take this away from me.
I'm never going to a bar with any of you guys.
Is that a wrap?
Nah, we have a good time.
Yeah,
No, fuck it.
it'll be fine.
We'd have a good time.
That's what you guys are sponsoring by buying Leo's rendition of Brave Shine.
You're buying us plane tickets to Japan so we can just drink the night away and pick up chicks.
All right, stay tuned. Episode 8. Thanks, guys.
Stay tuned.
Thanks
All right.
all for listening.
Later, guys.
Stop.
Are we done?
Stop recording.